Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Today's episode is Gridlock, Season 3, Episode 3.
Or better known here in California as the 405 Freeway.
The Doctor returns to New York and loses Martha to the carpool lane. This episode is written by Russell T. Davies, directed by Richard Clark. It originally aired on the 14th of April, 2007. The overnight ratings were reported that it was watched by 8 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Josh.
I'm Kelsey.
Hey, this is Brian.
Hi, this is Auburn.
Hello, this is Frank.
This is Arlene.
The couple from Grant Wood's painting American Gothic are trapped in a car that is being attacked by an unknown force. The wife says it's because they lied and told the computer there were 3 of them instead of just 2. They are killed as the traffic report says it's smooth skies all the way home. There's a continuity, not error, continuity.
Bit.
Yeah, with the last episode, Shakespeare Code, the Queen's men are chasing the Doctor and Martha, and they fire an arrow onto the TARDIS. And then here, when the Doctor and Martha exit to New York and it's raining, the Doctor pulls the arrow out of the TARDIS.
You have to look kind of closely because Martha's sort of blocking it.
And the rain also does not help. But I think that's really cool.
That's a nice bit.
Well, not only that, but now Martha has been wearing the same thing for 3 episodes in a row. It started with Smith and Jones. She was at the party.
I thought it was funny that they had the American Gothic people at the beginning. It's iconic look, so you know it right away. But then to kill them off, it's just an odd twist of humor to that. And I was wondering, what are they doing dressed like that? Are they doing a play? You know, it's like, what are you doing on the motorway? Well, you do a little play. You maybe start interacting with the other people in the other pod.
Maybe they're Amish, new Amish.
Well, I created a whole thing in my head where they're doing the Festival of the Arts, where they all become living paintings. You know?
That'll pay
So
off
I think
later.
E-Pod is going to do that. It passes the time.
Or is it just like a British stereotype of this
Americans.
this is a code for we're in America, like, but not really America because it's a whole other planet, but the American
New York.
culture. Like it's not British culture.
The Doctor decides to broaden the definition of one trip and takes Martha to New York. They are in a lower, grittier neighborhood than his last visit, and Martha guesses that he took Rose here. The street businesses open and are selling drugs to alter one's moods and memories. A couple kidnaps Martha at gunpoint and apologizes, saying they need 3. They load Martha into a vehicle and take off. The shop owners tell the Doctor that the couple took Martha to the motorway and no one ever comes back. In another part of the city, the Face of Boe tells Novice Haim to find the Doctor before it's too late. Dun dun dun.
Doesn't Martha know to just go make her body dead weight? Any self-defense class will teach you that. If you get kidnapped, just
Arlene,
drop to the ground.
comment on that?
Didn't they have a gun?
They had 2 guns.
Didn't they also put her to sleep and picked her up and carried her with no problem?
That was later.
That gun is it looks like a Nerf gun, because I have that Nerf gun, the Night Finder. If anybody else out there, they just heavily dressed it up and took out the orange plunger.
Really, those Nerf guns are good.
Yeah, they've been getting better.
Well, that one's 10 years old.
The Doctor then extends the idea of the one trip that he's going to take her. So he's really is starting to appreciate and like Martha for who she is. To go, let's go one more. Let's go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Martha calls him out on what we were talking about, I think, in our last episode, saying that Martha is like the rebound companion.
I do like that she says it right in front of his face. So now he can't be oblivious. But now he needs to start waking up.
And it happens in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also in the very beginning, he goes on and on talking about how beautiful his home planet is.
I think Gallifrey seems alienly beautiful with orange sky and red grass. It's just different.
For those of you who have more classic experience, have we seen Gallifrey before in any of the... Does it match up to his description?
Well, it was really cheap. So it was either a bad interior set or a quarry.
Okay.
I mean, the one that I remember is it looks like the Emerald City, more green than orange and red from
Different time of year.
A different season.
from the Deadly Assassin.
Oh, right.
And I know, not to spoil too much, but we do get a glimpse maybe in the future of this. Does it does it match up, at least within this current series? That
Fairly well.
okay.
There are little differences.
Well, I'm sure, like any planet, it's not all burnt red grass and mountains or...
Well, but for Gallifrey, there's like the capital dome city. So that's like where everybody lives. So everybody would have experiences in a similar region. But yeah, they always do say different colors for, like, green grass isn't said. I think they talk about red grass in other episodes as well in the future.
It's very autumn colors, like we were saying earlier.
Yeah, I think they've
red.
always mentioned that the sky is orange or red.
Yeah, sunsetty.
Sunsetty, yeah.
I remember when I first watched this episode, the young girl who wants to get forget. I thought that she was the daughter of the two American Gothic couple at
Maybe
first.
she was.
We don't know. I'm just saying that's how I thought of it
Yeah,
when I first
think
watched
I did
it.
too.
Because it's
I
just
did it because I thought they would take her along for 3.
Maybe she didn't want to go. I mean, there are billions of people on the motorway.
she probably didn't finish eating her vegetables, so they
maybe.
left without her.
I never
stuck
made the
on the plow.
correlation.
Yeah,
Or
Yeah,
she
me
didn't
neither.
want to go.
it's only the first time I watched it. Every time I've rewatched it since, I don't think that way. But I'm just letting you.
I kind of thought, oh, I wonder if those were her parents, and I just let
If
it go.
American Gothic were your parents, you'd want to forget them too.
For some reason, I always thought her as young.
Yeah, she looked
You know,
like
so it seemed like she just finally got there and is going to try and forget because the parents left her a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So like she's
There's-
been abandoned since she was
That's why I got,
a
you know,
little
she was a kid.
Wow, that's dark, Frank.
Later on, the doctor describes Gallifrey again and talking about the leaves of silver. And he describes it the way Susan does in one of the first episodes with the first doctor. So that they did tie that in. And I didn't know if we should say that now or later on, but since you asked.
Was it Unearthly Child?
No, it was the Sensorites.
Sensorites, okay.
Back to what we were saying in the beginning when when Martha's asking him about Gallifrey and he's going on, basically letting her believe it still exists. Sort of like what you were saying in our last episode about how he's kind of he doesn't want to get down. He's trying to keep himself in a happier place. He doesn't want to have the discussion of explain. I don't like starting from scratch.
Right.
I don't want to. Not only do I not want to retell the story of my home planet, but I don't want to be a downer to myself. He's trying to stay in a good mood, and I think and to see her be so excited, and you could tell that he's covering and this, that, and the other. I thought there's a whole other layer there I found very interesting, and that's one of the reasons that I actually do like this episode. I know that's not a popular opinion.
In the vehicle, the couple, Milo and Sheen, tell the computer they now have 3 passengers and are granted access to the fast lane. They tell Martha that they are truly sorry and promise to drop her off once they get to their destination. Martha looks out the window at the fog, but Sheen tells her that it's really exhaust fumes. They are going to Brooklyn because they hear the air is cleaner there. They tell her it's only 10 miles away. When asked how long it will take, they answer about 6 years, reasonably.
The only problem I have with that little bit there that I like that is that she said, don't worry, as soon as we get there, we'll let you out. You can go find your friend. Just the logic of it'll be 6 years before I could see my friend. Or
12, because you have to go back the other direction.
right. Or is where they were going to let her off before they get to where they're actually going. Where they'd say, we'll let you off when we get here, and then we're going to keep going.
No, they have to have
So it's
3
gonna be-
people in the car all the way to Brooklyn.
All the way. All right,
Well, there's
so,
a section that doesn't have the fast lane,
well, that's what I was saying.
so maybe
like,
before there.
like when I watched it this time now, I was like, oh, so did they mean Martha doesn't have to wait 6 years to see her friend? I was a little confused about that.
I thought they needed 3 people to be in the fast lane the whole time. I thought the fast lane was the whole time. When was it?
No, they said once they took an exit to Brooklyn, it was normal streets or something. I can't remember. They're
okay,
like,
that's right.
Yeah, so I think,
It's
maybe it wasn't 6
almost
years
used
till
to
Martha can see her. So even if they're all used to the fact that it takes years to drive someplace, that's a pretty oblivious attitude to take, that you'll never see your friend for another 6 years, and going back to that same spot, doubt they're still going to be there. So that's what made me think, oh, maybe Martha's not, they'll let her off after this section.
And also, I think we should mention the ridiculousness of, having a commute that's 6 years. And part of me wants to say that because of that maybe this whole story isn't meant to be literal.
Yeah, you really have to buy a lot.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, because
suspend reality.
there is a lot that you have to, yes. All these people being on this road for years
23 years, 22
yeah.
years.
Like
Nothing breaks down.
Right. They did the hand waving with the regenerative fueling and the waste products as food, but it's still like the human psyche cannot maintain itself if you are in those small spaces. And as the doctor was jumping through the cars, or some people that are single drivers, this doesn't seem to me like as far as stretching the imagination and the suspension of disbelief, that this would even fit within the world that we see the Doctor inhabiting.
So that's why I think this Martha seasons are a little more geared towards kids, because they're not going to go into in depth for trying to get reasons for doing things. It's like, this is the way it is, and kids would just accept it. This is just the way it is. And two, my second point about that is never underestimate humans' ability to just accept things and go through things and not question it. It's just amazing what people go along with without thinking about it.
Right. And some of the other like clues that I'm gonna try to buy into, but I have not done scholarly research on this.
Okay.
But obviously, like, there is a huge amount of religious symbolism, and not even symbolism, but just they're singing the old rugged cross.
Never heard it before this episode.
There's a couple of mentions of Jehovah. Like, everyone is religious. I think Martha towards the end even comments on her couple's faith.
Well, I think Martha knowing the song and crying during that part, it's like she grew up that way. So you see that she already has that religious background.
But 5 billion years in the future,
It's still
still
holding.
singing.
it's still
Right.
there. So,
Yeah, but they'll also be singing Row, Row Your Boat 5 million years in the future.
yes, but I'm saying this story, it might be deeper than I am giving it credit for, because as a viewer, I don't feel like it's very deep, but maybe they were trying to do something that I didn't understand. Or
I think there's an element there. I
Yeah.
think there's definitely, I think there's a lot more in this episode. It's just handled very simply. It seems sillier than it actually is.
So I don't know, like, I know there's a lot of symbolism of salvation going on with later on in the episode, but what I first thought of was the fact that the old rugged cross is piped into each of the cars and everyone sings along. It's doing a different kind of commentary, something like Nietzsche would have said, that the religion is the opiate of the masses. So keeping everyone in this little realm of everything really is bad right now, but you have faith that someday you're going to get something better because someone is sacrificing for you, just like Jesus did, made it all more acceptable in that psychological way of being able to make it through that time frame in that loop that they were in. So it's, again, people will do anything if they believe that something better is at the end of the tunnel.
I just have to comment on the Doctor when Martha is kidnapped and they put her in the van and go away. His whole Stella yell was just
The crane shot.
just made me laugh and took me out of the story. Going,
They spent
why
a
did
lot
they do
on that shot.
But why? Why the Stella yell?
I didn't even think of that, but that is funny.
Okay.
I actually thought
Just
that
me.
was very in character.
I
Over
really
the
liked
top, but there's a lot of the 10th Doctor that's over the top.
Ditto.
The Doctor gets to the enclosed motorway and sees both horizontal and vertical rows of hovering van-like vehicles in the largest gridlock ever. You've obviously never gone to work with me. He begins to cough from the exhaust fumes when one of the vans opens and tells him to get inside quickly. Once in the van, he meets Thomas Kincaid Brannigan, Bran for short, one of the cat race, his human wife, Valerie, and their litter. The kittens were born in the van, and Bran and Valerie have been driving for 12 years. The cars move up a bit, and now the Doctor is trapped on board until they reach the next platform in about 6 months.
The Doctor learns about through Brannigan and Valerie, how long it takes to go somewhere in this new Earth. I thought it was interesting that the Doctor is not impressed. Like, it seems like we've been in situations before where there's a hopeless situation and the Doctor sees the human race continuing to trudge on. It's clear that he's like not impressed by the just like accepting their situation of, oh, this is how long it takes to go 6 miles. I just thought it was interesting.
He's usually impressed by the people or the human race conquering over some sort of all-powering oppression. This is blind acceptance of something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this is traffic.
I think that's, yeah.
Like, someone would say that this was more of a religious themed episode, but I actually think that this episode is more anti-religion than it would be religious.
For sure, I think. Didn't even think about it till we just started talking right now, but now that we just watched it, it's definitely using the construct of religion to say, isn't this silly?
Yeah.
But sort of, because in the end, it actually is a happy
Well,
ending.
I'll have something to say about that too. So. Oh, and kittens got me on that episode. I love the episode already. There's a bunch of little kittens walking around. Done.
Let's just not think about how those kittens.
Yeah, I know.
You don't think about it, just kittens.
Which
kittens
part
are just
of
so
the
cute.
It's just a different way of life.
what part
No
of the
different, no bad.
of the procreative process do we not think about? The beginning or the end?
None of
All
it.
of it.
It's just there's a litter of kittens,
And it's cute. They're cute.
and they're cute.
Right.
I think that's
Very
funny.
nice.
You say none of it, and I say all of it. It's like forget all of it.
Same thing.
Let's say the same thing opposite ways again.
But this goes back to what you guys are saying. This is more geared towards kids, and they're
Yes.
just going to be like, "Oh, a human and a cat
Yeah, it's
had
funny. It's a cartoon.
babies. That's
Right.
it. We don't want to know
No.
the logistics of that."
Because they don't know the logistics of that.
Right. So they
the
just
stork
accept it.
brought them.
They just accept it.
And yet he's an old-fashioned cat, and
We'll get
so
to that. Yeah.
So the stork brought them.
Yeah.
And then they ate the stork for dinner.
They've been rationing that for 12 years. Martha's van begins its descent to the lowest level to access the fast lane. The doctor uses a CB and contacts another car with two women who keep notes on what happens in the motorway. They tell him that the van he is looking for is headed down to the fast lane. He asks the women if they have ever seen a police car, an ambulance, or any official car in the 23 years they have been driving. They haven't, and he tells Bran and Valerie that the motorway is cut off and they will never reach their destination. They refuse to take him down to the fast lane because cars disappear down there. The doctor opens a hatch on the floor of the van and jumps down to the next lane.
So I think this is why the doctor is not celebrating their resilience, because it's not a matter of overcoming, it's a matter of denial.
Yes.
And this is where we see that they all know it's not right, but they're all ignoring that.
Because all the reactions are, don't ask that question. They all know the answer. But they all have to fake or have that hope. And that's what's keeping them going is hope.
The guy who kidnapped Martha, I was constantly annoyed by his justifications and his denial. But now that we're talking about it this way, I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of brilliant, the way he was like that. I got a big kick out of the combination of old and new tech, the CB and the computers and the spaceships and stuff.
Have to be on their friends list.
Yeah. So when did Facebook actually really start? Or MySpace had a friends list?
Well, this is the Face of Boe book.
2005.
No.
All right, let's go out on that.
Episode's done. All right.
So that happened.
It's another FB.
Whoa. Creepy.
I do like the interaction between Bran and Alice and May.
Oh, I
Yeah.
You know, it's
really
just,
like that.
I'm an old-fashioned cat. No, your sister's. You know, they're just doing it as a joke. You can see Valerie just laughing, going, "How many times have you said the same joke over and over?" So I thought it was a good characterization for something so short, but I liked it a lot.
Speaking of them, Alice and May Cassini are the first homosexual married couple featured in the series.
This must have been a script issue where somebody said, okay, we're going to have the doctor jumping on cars, going through the cars, jumping on cars. He's got to take his coat off. So he just gives up his coat.
And we learn,
And I love that coat. Janis Joplin gave me that coat.
Yeah.
Which is just a great line.
I'm
And
watching
then
it.
he says to Valerie, if it makes you feel any better, I'm having kittens. I just thought that was very funny.
I can't believe he gave up his coat.
He gets it
We got
back.
it back. Which I don't know
spoiler. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I don't even know how he gets it
But
back.
can you see them sitting in the writer's room going, he's got to take the coat off. But how does he get the coat back? We'll just write a line where he says he asks for the coat back. But you can see them being like, yeah, but is he going to get the coat back?
After a week of deliberation, he gets a coat.
He gets the coat back, yeah.
I also wanted to point out that it's in this scene where the doctor, he admits that he didn't take the time to get to know Martha yet at this point. And he's been too busy showing off.
Right.
And he lied to her.
No, most definitely. I thought of that as well.
So that now he's not doing it unconsciously. If
Or
he's mean
he-
to her.
He's recognizing
He's
it?
recognizing it. He's finally recognizing it.
Surrounded by so much denial, he's coming out of his.
I love it.
There you go.
We will edit that out. I'm just kidding.
This episode is so deep.
Well, and
Don't go crazy.
Through it all.
also on the hero's journey, he's diving down into
the abyss,
tombs
yeah.
of death. Yeah.
Deeper into the special world.
Eugene, your voice changed.
No, it didn't.
He sonics his way into the top hatch of the next van and so on until he reaches the lowest level just above the fast lane. The doctor opens the lower hatch of the van to see what is below. He hears growling but can't see because of the fumes, so he uses the ventilation system to create a bit of a breeze. The fumes clear slightly and he sees a multitude of huge crabs, the macra, living on the bottom of the motorway.
This is the second time we've seen the Macra. The Macra is a second Doctor villain from the serial The Macra Terror. This is with the second Doctor Patrick Troughton and Jamie and Polly.
Did we see them in that episode? Like,
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
Did they look like this, or were they less devolved, like he mentions in this episode?
Yeah, they were definitely more intelligent.
Human-sized, you might say.
Yes.
The claws grabbed humans,
They grabbed Polly at one point.
so they
And-
didn't grab entire vans,
Yeah.
but they grabbed a human.
And also, this is one of those lost episodes, so only audio and certain stills and certain video segments exist of this story, so it's not all there.
And I think Russell was saying he thought it was fun to bring back a villain that was from an episode that nobody could watch.
And again, they're saying that the Macra is an old ancient race. So another one to go along with Arachnos.
And while they are the villains in the Motorway, they don't end up being the cause for the problem.
Correct, yeah.
So they're more,
They're just there.
yeah,
And hungry.
At this point, we don't know that.
right,
Right.
But eventually, like it wasn't a macro plot to eat people. It was just
So how long did they say this has been going on?
23 years?
24.
24?
Well, they've been, one of the first ones were driving, Alice and May. And they've
Yeah.
been driving for 23 years.
Yeah.
So, okay. But they've been
hey-
driving for 23 years, but does that mean that's when the freeway started?
It's coming up. Just hold on.
But one of them does say, we were one of the first people.
Oh, okay.
We were one of the first
Yeah.
people on the motorway, and that was
Gotcha.
23 years ago.
And we get the explanation later on.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah,
Okay.
To me, anyway, it's very confusing. Like, I know that it's all explained at the end. Like, especially, yeah, I don't know. When it comes to, like, plot, I don't feel like it should be deep and shrouded. Like, it, like, this happens because of this happened because of this.
Reminds me of current Doctor Who, or current-ish Doctor Who.
Oh. But I like this episode, but I do feel like through most of this episode I'm very confused, because at this point I do feel like, oh man, someone is like manipulating this freeway to keep the macro fed.
That's what you're supposed to think.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's a whole
that's a good
mislead.
thing.
Yeah. That's what
a good
it's
thing
supposed to
then.
totally seem like. Like there are these, that it's, like you said, a macro plot.
The fact that they're dwelling on a lot of past villains, like very ancient things. The doctor talked about his planet. He's revisiting a place that he's already been. Maybe it's just the doctor's psyche right now that he's just dwelling a lot in the past. And he started trying to figure out how to move forward from that, but he's really dwelling there.
Makes
I can
sense.
see that.
I think there's the whole thing with now that he's on the rebound, or this that is making him question life and just put him in another space and time.
As he's dropping down from van to van, one of them has the two Asian girls, and in the kanji on the wall it says "Bad Wolf," and that's where he's putting on the gas mask to go continuing on. There's just in the background.
You mean the bandana?
Well, because of the gas, he's
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
the bandana on as a mask.
Yeah. Yes.
And then to me, the woman in the picture reminds me of Rose. In that same, so you can see better. I kind of now little.
There's a paper that's being passed around.
But if you look at it, it's where he's putting
How
on
did
the
you come
bandana.
across that information?
The internet.
No, but like you can't read that. You weren't
No.
watching and go, "Hey!"
Yeah.
In my
No, I do not
Japanese
read
class,
kanji.
we just learned.
But
what bad
to me,
wolf
that looked like Rose. And
I might have been able to from my Japanese classes.
Well, did you?
No, because I don't know the kanji for bad or wolf.
I did like that scene of the doctor jumping through all
And
the
what-
different
what color is
consoles.
that bandana?
Blue.
Blue.
Is it? Or is it purple?
Looks purple to
I
me.
thought it was purple.
Yeah.
Well, I'm colorblind, so it could be a color.
It looked blue in the car, but I think outside of the car,
Purple.
it was more
I
purplish.
can't recall.
Because blue is his color, right?
Right, it does say
Maybe.
it's not his color, but
Let us know. Do you think it's blue or purple?
Email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com.
No, I think he's mentioned
I gotta
it
watch it
before
again.
when, like,
Yeah, he says not my color. Thank you for this. Not my color, but what?
but like Donna's car is blue at one point. Maybe not in this timeline, but I do remember seeing somewhere where he does remark on blue being his color.
We'll have to keep out for that.
Maybe
then.
that's in the future.
Maybe.
But I'm pretty sure the bandana's purple.
Yes.
I did like him going through all the different people, and then when he reaches the bottom, it's just a really fine banker, English businessman
Yeah.
with the bowler. And to me, it reminded me of Son of Man, the painting by Rene Magritte, with the apple in front of his face.
You're totally right.
We're doing
So I'm thinking
We're doing
that was
it.
the Festival of the Masters in space, you know.
I bet you.
And then the other couple was Adam and Eve, and they're just waiting for their
Yes.
They're
spot.
naked.
Yeah, I did
Totally
think
right.
They were like,
and what about
I love it.
I bet you the Asian girls were something too. Maybe it was just the Bad Wolf.
Japanese pop art. I don't know.
Kawaii desu.
But Russell T. Davis says that he was inspired by the Judge Dredd comics, so that's why New York looks like Mega City 1 with all the like overpopulation. And then what Frank was mentioning, the English businessman, his appearance is based on Max Normal, who's a character in the Judge Dredd comics.
Still, he looks just like that.
No, but Frank's theory, I like his theory too.
I did get a kick
I
out of.
make it up as I go along, and I like it.
I did get a kick out of. Do you have any water? Yes, right here in front of the camera.
No, but also the cat's name in the first car is
Brannigan?
No, you said something else.
What are we talking about?
Thomas Kincaid.
Kincaid.
Oh, that's right.
Also another
No,
artist.
that's totally it. Well, what do you know?
So
I guess now we know. You know.
thank you.
Yes.
And back to commenting on him jumping levels, it's like that's what the doctor does. He runs, but in this case, he can't run horizontally. He runs vertically, so he goes lower. And I think that's cool that they were able to do that. And then take the same set of each van and just redress
yeah.
it. But the editing does it so well that you don't know that it's a different time that they've shot those scenes. So it looks like it's one
magic.
continuous flow.
I wonder how long it took him to do that.
Yeah, I know,
Because
'cause-
there was a lot
Yeah.
of different set
I don't know.
dressings.
It's a pretty simple set. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a few of them.
No, in the commentary, they only had one.
really?
They only had
Yeah.
one.
But they are small.
It's like the Big Bang
I mean, I
Theory. It's
guess
the same elevator. They walk up and down.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that you'd have to relight them.
The lighting is different, though.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
one thing
true.
you asked.
God, I'd love to know. Did it take a day?
The
Did you
production
just
people
have
are just like,
everybody
they
there?
don't know what we do.
Probably did.
Sorry, but did they have the extras all lined up and, Adam and Eve were just naked all day and
I don't know. Then the
Like in
one
Love
that was
Actually.
everything was white.
yeah.
Right.
And the one
then
that's all red.
All red. But that kind of reminded me because the Duke of Manhattan.
It's all
He was
blue,
all-
blue purpley.
Yeah. So, there was a precedent on this planet for
I think that has more to do with what Frank was saying. I bet in some fashion.
They were getting ready to be something, and
No, like there's that old joke of like, this is the painting sold for $3 million. It's a big white square, or it's a big blue square, or whatever it may be, or just the primary colors.
What episode was the Duke of Manhattan in?
New Earth.
Oh, he was in that episode?
Did we do that one?
he was
already?
Yes, we
dying,
did.
remember? And
Oh, he was
and then
in
at the end he
hospital bed.
he
Miraculously
recovered.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
But again, going back to what we were saying about the guilt that the 10th Doctor is showing, paralleling this with Rose's first venture into the future with End of the World. But talking about that with this, back then when we had our episode, we were talking about how the Doctor was showing off by going way into the future. Like, this is a hot rod and I'm going to go as fast as I can to impress my date. Where here, he's admitting that he is showing off, but then now he cares about what's going to happen in his consequences of what he's doing. And I think that shows growth in his character too.
Ender liked that too.
I liked how the girl that kidnapped Martha when she was asleep thought she was rich
Yeah.
because of the way she was dressed.
Leather. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
Just the fact that she wasn't dirty. Not that they were dressed in rags, but
But they
were,
didn't look as clean.
No.
Milo, Sheen, and Martha reach the Brooklyn Junction exits, but they are closed. They hear growling from outside of their van, and it begins to shake, Star Trek style. A woman from a van behind them calls on the CB and tells them to drive up. There is something living in the exhaust fumes which has caught them. Milo won't go up because they don't have authorization, so Martha orders him to drive forward. But the Macra attack the van. Something is drawing the crabs to the ship, so Martha tells Milo to shut everything off and the attacks stop. Without power, they only have 8 minutes of air left, and 8 minutes to decide what to do.
And the woman that called them was another cat woman.
Yeah, I took it as a cat, where some people have taken it as a wolf.
She looked like a wolf to me.
Cat.
Wow.
It's a cat.
I thought it was more of a wolf like from Harry Potter, the Grim.
I just found it interesting how they used the same sort of...
There's cat people on this
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah.
But all
So
the
why
cat
would there be
people look
wolf
the
people?
same.
Because those are canines.
All the cat people we've seen look the same, though.
Well, it's mass hysteria. There are dogs and cats living together.
But that's like for her and her
I
companions
did
that were
too.
in there.
Yeah.
It's like she's trying to save someone else because she knows she's
Yeah.
can't save
Well,
herself.
it was weird because I was watching it and I actually felt more empathy for those three characters in peril who just then died because I guess they were so interesting. like what's their story? This wolf woman and
With
these
the
two
twins?
blonde
Yeah.
twins. Like I kind of like because they weren't just your generic red shirts. I was like, oh no, they seemed like more actual people to me.
That is interesting.
Oh, how Martha said to shut everything down because she saw it in a movie?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's Jurassic Park.
Submarines.
Submarines,
It's
that's
like
what it was.
every submarine movie, and then the AC or the aircon shuts down, so
Right.
then they're sweaty, just like a submarine movie.
So what does happen after they shut down in submarine movies?
They float.
It remains quiet, and they wait for the other
The
sub
depth
to make a
charges
move.
go off.
Someone drops a pen, and they can pick that up on the sonar, and then they fire everything, and
Or Spock accidentally turns the sensor on.
but Martha does get a lot of her information from movies,
Like
Through
last
Shakespeare-
episode, Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
and then this.
Was there anything?
So it's
was
like,
there anything in the prior movies? In the prior episodes? with
What
her?
movies?
but I like that. But I like that she's using her own knowledge, which is just of pop culture,
Yeah.
movies, whatever, and finding
How
the
else are you supposed to
practical
learn anything?
aspect to it.
That's how we learn about Shakespeare.
I learned everything through Doctor Who.
It was also this car that said, Jehovah, what's wrong with you?
No.
To
Yeah, and then Brannigan says it too.
But see, I just see that as an exclamation.
Sure.
Yeah, but
Sure,
the fact
but-
that that's the word that they choose.
Yeah. Like they and again, this is one of those episodes where I've said before it's either genius or mediocrity. And
You never know. Could be some guy,
I'm sorry, but all I think of when I hear Jehovah is Monty Python.
yes.
Jehovah, Jehovah. You're just making it worse for yourself. How could it possibly be worse? Jehovah, Jehovah.
One interesting thing, and I'll just bring it up here because it's closest to the fast lane takes 3 people to enter the fast lane. As I'm sure Arlene knows, the Trinity figures prominently in Christian mythology. We also have 3 exits that are all closed for Brooklyn from the fast lane. And I feel like there was one other set of 3, but I'm not recalling it now.
Poison Ivy.
One thing that this motorway is kind of like either a purgatory where it's in between all these spaces, like it's not the city, it's not the undercity, it's not the overcity, it's the middle, it's the journey there, or it's representative of just the rat race, like the human experience of like we're all on this, stuck in traffic, there's toxic fumes, and
I think it's both.
yeah, it's probably both or neither.
Totally.
But
Purgatory, and then
Yeah.
go down is hell. And
yeah,
You're destroying your own world by
Moving
adding
forward.
all this pollution, and you're creating this chaos and this traffic that you stay in because you follow rules because they've never seen a police officer.
Right.
Yet they won't drive in different directions. They'll stay in their line and they'll report what they're supposed to report, and they just fear it. Like in the very first scene where they said you lied to them and that's why we're being punished. So it's again like they're so blind at following the rules. So
they're in a prison of their own making. Whether that's a religious,
We'll find that out, yeah.
symbol or more societal. I
think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's a commentary on religion that you've created,
Well,
your
hell.
own hell. It's like There was a meme that I saw this week that I thought it was hilarious. It's Jesus knocking on the door, and the person's like, "Hey, why? Like, what do you want, Jesus?" He's like, "Well, I want to save you from what I'm going to do to you." So it's of its own making.
But it brings up an interesting point. Basically, human nature to create this pattern of behavior, whatever the purpose of it is. It's just what we find ourselves circling in until some time traveler shows up and breaks us out of it.
Jesus Christ. Or the Face of Boe.
Novice Haim cuts her way through the roof of Bran and Valerie's van, demanding to know the whereabouts of the doctor. She continues down the rows of vans and finally finds him. She says the situation is far worse than he thinks and transports them both up top to the empty Senate building. Skeletons lay about the Senate building.
Before you go on, I thought that was rude that she cut the top off. So now all the
exhaust
are coming in. She's like, she didn't
Wow.
care. It's like, then from then on,
Never
I could
thought of
see
that.
that the doctor probably kept everything unlocked as he went because he didn't stop to lock it up again.
Did she actually saw through it, or did she maybe just saw the lock and come?
No, because the whole
thing
ceiling
falls
came
down.
down.
yeah,
into
the door falls down.
I never thought of
I
that.
hated that
Those
part.
kittens
I
are all
thought of
dead.
that as well.
Well, I'm going to have to hate her now.
But she knew that the doctor was about to save everybody.
But they
How long?
said 20 minutes made the person's head blow up. So
Or enlarge, not blow up.
Enlarge, whatever
Yeah,
it
you know what I
was.
mean. Yeah, I mean,
Again, I think because
clarifying.
But again, I think that's, the juvenile, it's exciting to see the little pirates and stuff. Brannigan was just, pirates. It seemed like, that's going to happen again. So maybe they can have an automatic fix somehow to it.
And then her gun drill or whatever, laser drill, it sounded like the Cyberman drill.
yeah.
Skeletons lay about the Senate building. They all died 24 years ago when a new mood drug called Bliss was released. It created a mutated virus that became airborne and killed everyone within 7 minutes. Miranda. Who gets it?
Firefly.
There we go.
Well, Serenity.
Yeah, the movie.
She and the Face of Boe cut off the motorway and the Undercity to protect them. Boe hooked himself into the system to give the Undercity power. The city is safe again, but he is dying and does not have enough power to get the people out. Face of Boe pleads with the doctor to save the people below.
too much of anything can be really bad. So like the Dalek's intention was to take away those emotions to make rational decisions, same as the Cybermen. But then you add too much of the emotional part, too much of the bliss, too much of anything. It just creates something that's bad.
But the problem with Bliss was that there was a virus inside it that was
Well, yeah,
mutating.
that's what killed
It
them.
wasn't the Bliss itself, it was
Yeah, I
clean.
didn't like.
So I don't know about the drug
I
aspect.
actually don't find that as creepy that there was a virus. But before they said that, I thought that's really cool that they were so blissed out they just sat there and died because they didn't care.
That's what I was thinking
And
was
then
going to
in
happen.
7 minutes they were all dead. So it kind of killed what I thought was really cool in 7 seconds.
And also when the doctor and Martha first arrived, it's raining where they're at in the Undercity, so that's not a closed off part.
It could have just been
from
air
the rest.
conditioning condensation.
Yeah, what kind of rain is
Sure.
Have you not been in
No, what kind
Florida?
of
Yeah.
Yeah, we got rained on indoors in Florida. So in a seedy Undercity,
Yeah, have its own
I'm okay
atmosphere.
with there being disgusting rain. I've never considered the whole denial aspect, but now I am, and I'm just thinking it's kind of interesting that with this bliss, all the people are going into denial. They're using all these drugs to go into denial, and that it was the bliss, the denial that killed everybody.
And I
The
think-
denial motif kind of grows,
Yeah.
and that's what destroyed the entire society.
And this whole episode has sort of brought the doctor out of his denial of,
Yeah.
how he's really feeling.
Well, Martha pulls him out of his denial.
Yeah.
I think he was very content to stay in it until she sits down and
Right. Well, this episode is...
Yes. Yeah. It's the purpose of the episode in the season-long arc.
You just made me think about when the doctor when they first arrive again, and he sonics the screen and sees a picture of the upper city, and he says, oh yeah, that's how I remember it. But I think there are cars flying in that picture.
Yeah, they were too.
Yeah,
in
but that's
in
what
New Earth
everyone-
there were.
Well,
there
I'm saying
were-
they're all dead up there. He's sonicking like an archive. I thought it was like a security feed.
Well, I think everything that's being broadcast to wherever is a hologram. Like everything's to keep them pacified and believing that
But everything's fine and normal up there. So that's
Okay.
what
we're all fine up
Broadcasting.
here. Thank you.
How are you?
Not a Star Wars fan. But it is interesting that, yes, all the people in the Undercity, the reason they're on the motorway is to get out of there to a utopia, to the upper city where the apple grass is and everything
Right.
is luxurious.
Applegrass, the Garden of Eden thing.
Sure.
I mean, that was from New Earth when him and Rose were sitting on the grass.
Yep.
So that's a
is
long
like
game they were
apples.
playing. I know I've been advocating some like heavy symbolism, but I don't think it is deep. I think it's trying to be deep on some levels, and like I don't think it makes it.
Superficially deep. Is that
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Here we go. Or is it deeply superficial?
Or it's unintentionally.
I just see it as they're using these fun things to put together in a fun way, and it's just I never even until we started talking about it during this episode, I never even thought that much except the obvious stuff, and I think it's a lot of fun to see all those connections.
And I like the irony that to try and save everybody and also off planet, the Senate's last act was to put in the quarantine that would last for 100 years,
Yeah.
and therefore killing everybody on the planet.
Yeah.
But they
They did the right thing.
Right. They thought they were going to isolate it, not realizing that they isolate the lower city and they're still alive.
Well, they didn't do that.
No, right. Face of
Boe
Boe
did.
and
But the Senate was going to sacrifice everybody on the planet. Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought the Senate, in doing the quarantine, cut off the under
No, Boe did
section.
not.
No, that's what she said.
And I thought Bo was using his power just to keep everything below there going and
No, Boe was doing
functioning.
both of that.
So he cut them off
Yes.
to save them?
Yes.
right.
He cut
And
off the
then-
motorway
Because the
and
drug
the
got
Undercity.
airborne really quickly. It's like there was that weird virus in
Yeah.
it. So when people took it, it became airborne. Started killing everybody.
but
He
the
wasn't even
cutting off-
taking it.
And Boe,
But the cutting
and
off
Boe
was
cut
good
off.
then.
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
It
see,
was-
I took as you guys were saying it was bad that they got cut off.
No.
No,
No, just the
Senate-
irony of that they were trying to save people off planet by isolating the quarantine. But what
Yeah.
they did is they actually sentenced the people to death below
Because
who
they
weren't
couldn't escape.
infected yet.
Yeah, they
They
yeah.
did that regardless of the Face of Boe. They just quarantined the planet. Face of Boe was on the planet and said, "Oh no, we're being quarantined. Let me save these people while I can."
Yeah. The Senate was basically saying, "Don't come and help us. We're already dead. Save yourself. Go away." And that condemned everyone on the planet to death, which was probably the right thing to do when you only have 7 minutes.
To make a decision.
Yeah.
Vulcan way.
But switching things to a different topic, we get introduced to it's called Boe, the piece of music.
Oh,
It's on the season 3 CD, and I think it sounds like it belongs with the rest of the season. I guess because it's Murray Gold did it, but it's just very uplifting when you hear it with the Face of Boe.
that's what a coincidence that it was called that, and they used it in that episode with
That is. This is the first time we hear it. Martha tells Milo and Jean about the doctor and her faith in him. Milo restarts the van and the Macra attack again. The doctor sees their van on a monitor and continues to work to get power to the motorway. The Face of Boe gives the last of his life force, allowing the doctor to open the roof of the motorway. The doctor broadcasts on the traffic report feed for everyone to drive up. Milo ascends and they all cheer as they see the sunlight. The doctor tells Martha to head for the Senate building.
So, in essence, the Face of Boe sacrifices himself so everyone can rise to where it's lovely and there's light. And
There's light and
happiness
bright.
and-
So did Novice Haim and the Face of Boe then run out of power, and that's why they couldn't?
Yes,
They sealed it off. Everything's safe now. Now they need to unseal it, but they don't have enough power.
correct.
Yeah, that's why he's dying.
He still had enough power to keep it
To keep it going.
But not enough
not
power
enough
to
power
open
to
it.
open it.
And, the
And what
doctor-
did the doctor do to add power?
Jiggery pokery.
Jiggery pokery.
Seriously, I agree with that.
Yeah,
question.
I know.
But the doctor knows how to jury rig
Yeah.
how this goes. So here he's showing literally that knowledge is power.
Yeah. Exactly.
No.
It all works. It all fits.
What's
But
your
I
what's your
think-
line,
Because his
Albert?
knowledge got
It's
the
either
power to go
brilliant.
there, but then something went wrong, and that's when he says, "I'll give you that extra."
Schoolhouse rock.
So that It's just that we need a sacrifice and knowledge for people to be saved. So it's not just one or the other. So it was trying to strike the chord with the balance of, you know, there's the savior and there's the person who tries hard to get things to be fixed. Or they're saying that your savior is nothing. Look, we can create a new savior, and these people were saved, and they went to this place that seems like heaven because of where they've been living.
It's both. It's all of it.
It's all of the above of what.
And you actually just made me think of an analogy for the macros?
Macra.
The macra down below, where he said they devolved and now they're just beasts. So, you know, they used to have much more intelligence, whereas if you were, you know, thinking about the consequence of your actions and all this stuff, and like if you don't do something that's what a good person would do, you think about it and maybe you could work a way out to redeem yourself or whatever, but it's just been devolved into this place below the earth that there's a beast that will hurt you.
To the pits of hell.
Right.
If you try to take the fast route,
Right.
you're going to go to hell.
Right. It's just a beast. And you'll get crabs.
I love it.
We've
So
we've
don't be-
devolved.
Don't be a fast woman.
Or man.
Well,
Or cat.
that's where you get the little penicillin patch.
There you go.
Martha reiterates something that Rose said about not really knowing who the doctor is. They come to that realization, going, "Oh my gosh, I just followed this guy,
And I'm trusting in my faith, putting my faith in the stranger, I think she says.
Right, but then she also reiterates what Donna said, in that sometimes I think he likes me, but I think he just needs someone to be with him. And Donna was saying, I hope you find somebody, because I think you need somebody
need
to be
it,
with
yeah.
you to stop you. So she knows a little bit more.
And she
about
looked
the
down and
doctor.
there was a pair of footsteps next to her. I'm sorry, footprints.
Come
In
on.
the sand.
A footprint is not a boot.
Oh my God.
For
But I
being
think it's a
Jewish,
little-
you know a lot of Christian analogies.
I think it's a little foreshadowing of Martha's character in that they feel hopeless down there. And she talks to Milo and Sheen, saying, you know, you have your hymns, you have all that. But we have the doctor. You haven't seen what he does. You haven't seen who he is and what he's capable of doing. And
Yeah.
if he's out there and helping, we have hope.
For sure.
You know, what Martha does is using those words and inspiring those people to hold on.
Yeah, not words as a weapon, but words to inspire. Because she's just come off the moment of, I don't know who the doctor is.
Right.
Wow, my family doesn't know where I am.
If I die, they won't know where I
They
am.
won't. But I just traveled with this guy, and I don't know who he is. And then we see her later going, but I have every faith in him. All my hope is on him, and he will save us. We just have to move. And yes, that's great foreshadowing. I think right there, that's the heart of Martha's character.
Yep. So
Right.
pay attention, listeners.
I like the music that they played as they're driving up. I thought it was very inspiring, but also very doctory. You know,
I
'cause
want to say
Miracle-
that's the Boe
Is that the
track,
one?
I think.
I think it is.
Yeah.
'cause I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And I could just, part of me was like wanting them to do it more as a comedy and just have, we're moving on up. You know? As a new East Side, yes. Just as other cars are going up, just a deluxe apartment, and this guy's just perfect.
It's funny. Towards the end of the episode, when they're watching all of the vans drive into the city, all I thought of was like, okay, now here's a whole other story of people acting like maniacs, getting dibs on apartments, and like killing each other over staking their claim. Like in the beginning,
you know, it's like immediately head for, you know, New Central Park on the New West Side and grab the topmost
there's no
apartment.
police.
It's like, it's mine now. We just need to clear out the skeletons and we're good. I totally thought that when I was watching it last night. And again, I never thought that before, but now it's like, you can just pick whatever you want. Okay. And yet they're still under quarantine for another 75 years. So they're all on their own.
Well, they've known how to survive.
Yeah, if they can survive in a little box, they can survive.
So they're living on the new Upper West Side,
Right.
overlooking New Central Park, eating poop.
Yeah. Well, now they can start farming.
That's true. When Martha arrives, she joins the doctor as the Face of Boe is dying. Novice Hames says there is a legend that the Face of Boe will tell his last secret to a traveler. The Face of Boe says that he and the doctor are both the last of their kind. Then he says his last words. Know this, Time Lord, you are not alone.
There is another Skywalker.
Before Novus Haim talked about the legend of the Face of Boe, she did say, "My lord gave his life."
Right.
Yes. So
Yeah.
this is our final trinity of this episode. Novice Haim, the doctor, and the Face of Boe is our godhead that, through sacrifice,
Saves humanity.
saves humanity.
I have that note.
Well, I wrote it down too.
This is the third episode in
In the season.
a
In a trilogy.
Yes.
In a trilogy, too.
in the Face of
You know
Boe
that?
trilogy.
First season, End of the World. Second season, New Earth. And then third season, Gridlock. We're all in the year 5 billion. And this is this is the last time also we're going to be in this year.
But just going along with the trinity of threes going on.
I like my 666s better.
Takes longer to get there.
Now, the Face of Boe is just a huge face. So what's going on in this episode made me think maybe the gas is what he's using to have his face so large. Because they're talking about the macra, talking about...
No. What happens when you're out there for more than 20 minutes?
That's a legend. That's an urban legend, though.
50
Right,
foot.
but that's a 50 foot. But I mean, just thinking, well, maybe there is some basis
Validity
to, this
to that, yeah.
legend. You know, the macra are larger than they were before, and that was overblown with the 50-foot head.
But he already looked like that before this episode.
But he's in a gas tank. And now the gas...
There
So
could
I'm
be
just wondering
fumes.
if somehow he's
He's got good
utilizing that
gas.
to... Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
but
Because it
how,
saved the novice.
I guess just maybe I'm like trying to like take this episode too seriously, but so when they Face of Boe and Novice Haim shut off the Undercity. So is that good or bad?
So it could be good and bad.
Yeah.
Because if they hope for so long that they just die off
Right, 'cause if
completely, like because Bo's gonna had to die eventually, in that situation where he's giving up all his power. So, like it was just like luck that the doctor showed up at a time that.
or the,
No,
or the
I think the
TARDIS
Face of Boe has faith in the doctor.
Yeah.
so
that's
it's
what I
faith
think.
altogether.
Yeah.
But what if somebody down there was a mechanic who could open the doors and doesn't know there's a problem?
What gets me is you cut off the Undercity and you cut off the motorways, but you can't still call them.
No.
And maybe you don't want to tell them
No,
what's
you
going
don't
on.
want to tell him.
I agree with you. But when it becomes safe and the virus has died out and now suddenly is better and you go, I don't have the power to open the doors.
In my opinion, what is needed to open those doors is much larger than anyone could possibly be able to do, and that is down there.
See, and I think from the motorway maybe, but there's got to be walkways from Undercity up. But that's what I think. It's like you can't think of this episode that deeply.
Or it could just be that whole explanation of the fact that this godhead that saved these people but left them in this state of almost doom thinks that he knows better than all the rest of them. So he doesn't think that any of them have that capability of being able to get out.
Sounds like the doctor to me.
Yeah, or even the way like people view this godhead that like, oh, these people can't do anything on their own. The godhead has to be in control, and it's whatever the godhead does. It's nothing that you can do yourself that is savable. It's only someone from above that can save you.
I don't agree with you on that. I'm thinking it's more along the whole theme that's going on with this of just you have one way of thinking, and he's thinking we have to get the power on, but we've given up so much of my life for power. How are we going to solve that issue rather than how to solve opening the doors? It's how to get power so we can open the doors. So he's not even thinking the right way. He only has focused on the one solution or one problem he's thinking of.
Because he trusts in himself. It's just like someone who's doing a project and there's like a simple solution, but they're thinking so deep into it, they can't
Right.
see the simple solution.
Right.
Martha and the doctor go back to the TARDIS, but she refuses to go inside until he talks to her about what the Face of Boe said, being the last of his kind and that he was not alone. The doctor tells her about the Time War and the planet that was Gallifrey.
Now, is that the first time we actually heard that much of the story about the Time War?
It does feel like
I
it's
think
the
that's-
most direct.
I think that's the most information we've gotten.
Just presented as like exposition direct. And it's
Right.
nice.
I almost want to say we got more in Doomsday.
Is it the one with the Daleks?
With the Daleks and the
being locked
Cybermen, yeah.
Where they were locked in the Time War prison. I mean, the Time Lord
jail. But here it is more direct.
Okay.
And more heartfelt.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Personal.
And I think this is what cements Martha for me as a character
Yeah.
and as a
Yes.
companion.
Yeah,
is
the
that
moment she sat down on that chair.
She took the time and said, "No, you talk to me."
Yeah, what I really like about Martha is she addresses everything.
I really didn't like part of this story that the Doctor and Martha are apart for the majority of this. I mean, yes, it kind of puts Martha in charge of that little area and shows some stuff of Martha, but that they're separated throughout this whole episode bugged me since it's also so soon in Martha's relationship to the Doctor.
Look at it this way. They've been together this whole time, and they haven't really. Neither of them are sort of being honest with either themselves or each other. By being taken away from each other, it wakes them up to actually think about what they're experiencing. They're kind of taking each other in the situation for granted, and now that the Doctor doesn't have Martha there to impress, he's actually left with how he actually treated her. And without Martha, having a crush or just being excited, she's actually being confronted by the actual situation she's in with her family and him. I don't even know him. And if they were still together, she wouldn't have thought of that. She would have just kind of been going along. Again, more, not denial. I wouldn't call that denial, but...
No, I think this is getting them out of denial.
Right, exactly.
They're both coming out of denial.
It's basically giving him a reality check. It's giving both of them a reality check.
She actually has the courage to say rebound in front of him, and he actually is like, I lied to her.
Right.
So they are coming out of rebound.
And I think they needed this. So much happens with her after this. It's kind of like you needed some big catalyst at this point in the story arc to do that.
And from a script point of view, when they're separate, the only thing that they're doing
They're thinking about each other.
Yeah, the Doctor's talking about Martha. Martha's talking about the Doctor the whole time. Because I don't necessarily like it, but that is what they're doing.
No, it's good points, but I agree with you that I don't like it. But at least that does
Gives it a
signify some of the reasons why they did that.
Also, we had reached the point with Rose where when they got separated, we didn't have any anxiety about it. The Doctor didn't have any anxiety about it, but this is new to Martha. So having them apart, we don't know if Martha will be okay.
Right.
I guess basically. And then it turns out she does just fine.
So Gridlock, who is this episode good for? Meaning, this episode is good for who?
I actually think this is good for a new viewer. I could totally see someone not liking it because on its surface level, it's really silly. But I don't know. I think it does everything that most of the other Doctor episodes do.
So you would
Monster of the
use
Week.
this episode to introduce to somebody. You'd be like, hey, have you seen Doctor Who? No, here, watch this episode. You're going to love it.
I don't know.
Thank you for re-explaining the question we've used for a season now.
I want to say thank you, Martha.
That was very Martha-esque.
Seriously.
I would. Yeah, I'm going to just go with it.
But only at a seminary.
Yes.
I would.
Because I am torn between casual and new, because I like this episode if you don't delve that deep into it, I guess. It's fun, and I agree with what Josh said, so I'm going to put in the number one category that everyone will enjoy this episode if they watch it.
I'm torn between not good for new or casual, but a Doctor Who fan or a diehard only. I so do not like this episode. It doesn't make me angry like Love and Monsters, so it's not that. I hate driving so much. Seriously, it just, my commute is killing me. So as my commute in life gets worse, the less I can even think of this episode because it just makes me have a panic attack. I'll be kind and say that it's category 3, which you would need to be a Doctor Who fan to enjoy this episode.
Another analogy, we are slaves to our commutes every day and we follow them blindly.
Yeah.
Well, but I also will say maybe I was blinded because of that, but all of this in-depth stuff, never thought of in a million years and probably never would have. I do like now the whole place is in denial and that our characters are coming out of denial. So that's a good motif to go with. I still don't get the whole religion thing.
But you don't see what we're talking about?
I don't see it. But that's just me.
Yeah, but I sort of agree with Auburn that these are kind of obvious tropes from the Bible.
But what I really like, it's for the people who are very religious. If you really do think about it, he's kind of poking fun at your religion.
I think it's an atheist.
So it's for
I
the
never have a
person.
problem with that.
Yeah, so it's for the very religious person to think there's a religious episode for them, and then it's like, no, I'm just poking fun at you.
Yeah.
If you guys see it, then it exists.
All right. I will go with Brian and give it a 3. And just as a little wrap up to my thoughts, I feel like the one with the Beast, Impossible Planet, and the Satan Pit, yes, both of those tackled not the same themes that this episode tried to tackle, but I feel like the way that they went about connecting symbols to the story was a lot better than this. And while I can read into it, many of those themes and many of those ideas, like Josh was saying, I don't necessarily think that they were unintentional or intentional, but because it is so frazzled, it is like an abstract piece of art. Like, you can bring what you want to bring to it. And so that's why I give it a low score, because I don't think it's focused enough on what the story should be and what it's trying to say, because all of us are able to see these different points of view about it, which I'm saying now does not make it one of the best episodes of Doctor Who that would inspire somebody to keep watching, in my opinion.
I'm going to go with the theme of the episode of 3s and also give it a 3. So I'm the third one giving it a 3, which is, if you are a fan of Doctor Who, you probably would like it and watch it. I don't think it's a great way to introduce somebody to the show, because I don't think it has a lot of the Doctor Who sections that I usually like. Casual, I think you'd just be a little lost in what Doctor Who is. So I'm going for 3 that you already know what's going on. You're a fan of the show, and you'll watch that and might enjoy it. I think I have to watch it again after this podcast, because I, same as Brian, didn't get a lot of the religious connotations. I don't even remember them saying Jehovah during this.
Twice.
Yeah, but it didn't register to me as all.
But to me, it's just a, by George, by Joe.
Right, so
It was a dinner fit for Jehovah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for a jumping Jehoshaphat.
I would want to give it a 3. But there's kittens. So I'm going to give it a 2. And really, I'm like, with all these analogies that I'm coming up with, it's like I'm grasping at straws. I was just trying to figure something out. It has to be a little bit deeper than this. Like, you had some beautiful art references and,
Wow, you're good. You all sounded really confident.
Well, that's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
So a 2 for kittens.
They were cute kittens, too.
I enjoy this episode. It's fine with me. I don't think too deeply about it.
You're still outnumbered.
That doesn't matter. I've numbered all my life.
You don't like cats?
I don't have to pet these cats and react to them allergically. I don't mind that the Doctor and the companion are separated. It shows how they're both strong characters, because they're doing things independently and still, trying to solve the situation absent of the other. And this, to me, this speaks more not with the religious portion, but with the human fortitude spirit that Russell has always been trying to shine a spotlight on. Humanity survives. Humanity will persevere through extreme circumstances, no matter what. And then, with these hymns that Brian didn't grow up with Old Rugged Cross and Abide With Me, they're hymns that I grew up with. So, it hits me in a certain way that, like Martha's reaction shots of her, I feel what she's feeling in that moment when they're all singing. And, again, this episode really cements Martha as a strong companion. I mean, stronger than Rose, that she was able to tell the Doctor, hey, you need to talk to me. Sit with me here. Tell me what's going on. Let's discuss this stuff. And, this is the last episode we get with the Face of Boe. So, made me sad.
That's the difference between an 18-year-old and someone who's just graduated from med school.
Oh, sure. But I'm just saying.
I like that, too. I like that difference. I like that they showed the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is Martha's third episode in, and she's already separated from the doctor.
And standing up to him.
Yeah, and we don't even bat an eye about it.
When did they go to couples counseling?
In Gridlock 2.0. I don't know. I'm teetering on new and casual. I'm gonna have to go with casual on this one, but I would go with new. I would go with new as well, but I have to pick one.
And I do want to just say again that these are just our views, our opinions, and that our system of 1 through 4 are not great episodes to bad episodes. Right. There's different reasons why they go into whatever category, such as when I said 3, that's not, I don't think it's a good one for new or casual viewers because of different reasons. And some of those could be like, there's too much history in the plot, so you don't know what the characters are doing, or it's too convoluted without knowing other aspects of it. And this one, I just don't know if it's a great representation for somebody new to start watching. And so that's not necessarily that it's bad. I did like it better this time than I have in the past. Watching it is like, oh, I get a little bit more fun out of it. But that's the reason, not just that it's a bad episode or good episode.
Unless you give it a 5. It's a bad episode.
Right. Okay. I mean, there is some correlation to it. There is some correlation to these, but it's not just saying that it's a bad episode. It's saying it's not, we don't think it's great for somebody new coming in or doesn't have the history of watching some of the Doctor Who.
So there are our views on Gridlock. Let us know what you think and what you saw. Were there any other themes or symbology that we have not brought up that you saw in this episode? Please let us know. Email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook.
At The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by our very own Auburn.
Find me at auburnbinkley.com.
You can find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcasts.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
You can leave comments there or email us at
whoknewpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who,
The longest running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell,
Sydney Newman,
Verity Lambert,
Ron Grainer,
And all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Did we mention if we did who she was talking to before that we saw her, or did we just see her before we find out who she was talking to?
Okay, you lost me there.
Oh boy.
who's on first?
We did see her talking to the Face of Boe. Okay.
And now, a moment with Josh.
Ready, Brian? Mm-hmm. Okay.